one.
Are you gonna give me orders?
Of TDTs from. I've had quite a, I don't know, brotherly relationship for a while now. But we are finally ready to go into Cure versus INnoVation, guys. So let's focus on this Terran versus Terran. Also going to be a GSL match. No way to avoid spoilers there, guys. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys had a day already.
Yeah,
You know,
seriously,
you
man.
had a day to watch 2 best of 5s. I know TSL was on all day yesterday, but I feel like we're past the point of being allowed to complain.
Okay,
So
just watch out, man. All right, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't for the whole watching GSL thing. As soon as they do a build that was in GSL, half the people make fun of you for not knowing it. The other half who do know it make fun of you for spoiling. It's just
freaking GSL, man. The bane of everyone else that's trying to cast games, apparently.
Yeah. In the top left here, for game number 1, no other SCVs being sent out for both players. Good start. It is the Red Terran, Cure.
Ta-da. This is in the bottom right-hand side. Our Blue Terran, they've both been on fire lately, but this guy's been really looking great. It is INnoVation.
INnoVation looking great in most aspects. I mean, yes, he did get sent down here in the lower bracket by Sue, but I think many people expected just not to perform as well as he did. I don't think anyone's counting out Sue from any tournaments yet, right? Like, we'll only do that when he's actually retired. But for INnoVation's stance right now in the StarCraft 2 scene, he looks often unbeatable. For him to lose to Sue, it was a shock. But no, he's still doing fantastic. And Cure also being sent down to the lower bracket. This is a lower bracket match, which is really, really weird. Really redeemed himself yesterday and still looked very, very good. And he is usually the online warrior. That's what we've always talked him up, right? Like, it's always, he's doing well online. How's he going to do offline? Well, we're online again. So is this the chance for him to beat INnoVation?
Yeah. They've had some crazy series online this year as well, by the way. But I'm talking, certain games that they love on Simulacrum. They've loved having this mech versus bio dynamic where they end up playing like 45 minutes of the scrappiest TVT you'll ever see. And to say that about TVT is really to say something, because this is a matchup that can get, become a real mess. Yeah, this year they've really played a lot. They've been kings of the Kung Fu Cup, in fact. They've been winning the most Kung Fu Cup events. In fact, that's like the bigger online tournament in Korea, that and the Elima League. And that's obviously huge because all of the top players playing that, and yet INnoVation and Cure are the only guys that are winning it consistently. So then they meet up there all the time and they play great games. There's just so many reasons to be excited for this TVT, and so many reasons this should be a great match as we do set up with our first little fight. SCV and Reaper on SCV and Reaper, but INnoVation has the high ground, and that will be good for him. Sorry, he didn't have an SCV and Reaper. He had a Marine and a Reaper. Even better.
Even better, yeah. Bunker being made very safely.
Upgrade.
This was a factory expand rate from Cure, so he's looking to do some damage, anything, at least pull something out of position, stop it from building. But so far, not so good.
All right, well, we're just gonna have our Orbital Command building up on the natural expansion from INnoVation as the CC from Cure is going to be dropping down as well. Starport is going to be building in the main base, and of course a starport on either side at the moment. And yeah, just going to be seeing that starport is a little bit faster here from Cure, which means that obviously you can get some aggression onto the map a little bit more easily. Going to be seeing a tech lab coming up from either side as well. Still a little bit more pressure from Q as he jumps 2 Reapers up to this high ground, but the Reaper and the 2 Marines are going to be able to defend, and the Hellions obviously can't join the high ground as easily. With the bunker at the front, this should be good.
Still a pretty good hold here as INnoVation gets away with the CC on the low ground. That Barracks and the Raven follow up here from Cure. Could go for some harassment that usually nets at least a couple of kills, right? But not yet. Reaper wants to get a scout. They both are going Raven, both going Marines. And actually, INnoVation, feeling very bold, reaches out and grabs the Reaper. That's always nice.
Yeah, able to grab the Reaper, and as we see both of them going into Ravens, we're kind of seeing the expected follow-up here. Ravens obviously are really the pivot of TVT early game, and even mid-game as well. Those auto turrets, those interference matrices, they do so much to really just turn fights, create options to fight. and break down defenses. So they are going to be big. What is also interesting, though, is INnoVation opting for that Cyclone is really wanting to get some presence on the map still. That means his Siege Tank is a bit later, and it feels as though maybe Cure has an option to maybe build a couple extra units and just go, and maybe can get a fight on the way. Well, INnoVation is down a tank. If that gets Matrix, for example, that's an issue. INnoVation building a tank now, but Cure also a bit later on that third CC, so it definitely feels like the more aggressive stance here from Cure.
Yeah, which so far hasn't really worked out for him. I mean, what was 1 SCV difference is now turned into a 5 SCV difference as he continues not to be able to net anything. He does have that very small army lead that is still expected, but will fall off as time goes on. But going across the map, really expecting to do a lot of damage, I mean, those are all big question marks. Now, we can talk a lot about how, mirror matchups is the tiny thing should be significant, but TVT is great because despite being a mirror matchup where you could both do the same exact thing, the actual army engagements can be so different and can make up for easily 5 workers here or 10 army supply there or an upgrade disadvantage. That's why we love this matchup. So third CC is scouted. INnoVation knows he has a faster third CC. He could put it on location, but that would be very bold. I mean, he knows he has a faster one, but he's not being 2-base all in or anything like that. That's a very, I haven't seen a 2-base all in TBT in a while, but he still has to be careful about this, knowing that Cure is going to be looking to do some type of pressure. I would say usually at least poke at that third base, make sure it doesn't come down immediately. But Cure actually, I think he just sieged up there, so he's like almost like anticipating INnoVation moving to him and is preparing for that.
It's funny because even with similar armies in TVT, you can still, just by taking a good position, completely win a fight, right? So that's maybe what Cure can look to do, and that's why it's what you're saying. INnoVation has to be careful about taking the third base. It just gives Cure more positions to end up in. And if Cure can siege to the left-hand side and maybe in range of the third, suddenly INnoVation has to fight that, / lift the third CC. So you really have to be ready to deal with that. Alternatively, if INnoVation's focused on the left and Cure sieges up on the right side down the low ground of the natural, then you have to fight that as INnoVation. So this really is a lot about map control. And as INnoVation takes position on the left side, he has a unit patrolling in front of the natural ramp. So you really should know if Cure is looking to make a play over there and give him some heads up to be able to respond in time.
He had a Marine over there, but it's a little far south, more so looking for drops or Raven harassment, it looks like. So he doesn't get full knowledge of this attack, but he has very similar units. Auto turrets on auto turrets, looking much better for the INnoVation side of things as he was slapping down Cure auto turrets compared to Cure, who got that tank at the very least. He did set down a Matrix that did grab a tank, but he didn't actually get him close enough to stop the third TC from mining, which I would say would more so be the goal of Interference Matrix. And INnoVation will hold that position.
I feel like INnoVation actually maybe could have put his auto turrets down a bit closer as well, so they were more of a threat to the siege tanks. And that maybe takes away the option to target down INnoVation's tank, because then maybe you actually have to just target down the auto turrets, right? Otherwise you lose all your tanks too quickly. So it just feels like maybe, you mentioned Cure maybe wasn't in range of the third base. I think from both sides it was just a little bit, maybe could have gone a little bit more. At the same time, I don't think either player necessarily needs too much more. Yes, Cure's a couple of SCVs behind. He's a slight bit of army supply behind. Not so much in a TVT, where defensively he should still be all right. He should be able to hold on. 10 to 15 supply in TVT changes very quickly. That's just a couple Marines accidentally wandering into a tank line for a moment without noticing. So a lot to watch out for still. And Cure, yes, behind a little bit, but definitely not out of the game yet.
No, not out of the game, but if it's a trend, then it's a worrying trend. INnoVation is continuing to get leads and upgrades, as well as he immediately starts up his 2-2. Fourth CC on location is pretty bold usually, but since they are not dropping each other and taking immediate engagements, sure, go ahead. They have some pretty, especially INnoVation, has some pretty fair map vision, so he knows that's going to be something he can get away with. Scan of the army, sees that it is roughly the size of his own, and he can't really look to bust it down. Also probably clicking on those upgrades and realizing they are even. He's not going to try very much. Eventually, if this continues on, we will simply see someone try and go for Vikings. Maybe the other person will too, but the air control is really what's going to be used to bust down Turtle Terrans, guys who just aren't really looking for trades. And INnoVation has already got a lead on that air supply.
Yeah, the Vikings are going to be really big in this, because it also means that the Ravens of Cure are in so much more danger, right? if he loses his Ravens to the Vikings, then you just don't have them in future fights. And now INnoVation seems to know there's an army over here looking for this, but he loses his Ravens, targeted down by the Marines. Well, now Kira's the one that's getting away, and anti-armor missile doesn't do much. Almost surprised INnoVation doesn't try to put himself on top of the third base, seeing so many Marines over here. Maybe afraid of the potential flanking with Marines from the right and the army already on the left from Kira. Okay, INnoVation is opening this advantage up way further than I thought he would now. He's really pushing 20 supply lead all the time. Fourth base is that much faster too, and I think that's a really significant thing to keep on mind here. And definitely feels like Kira is just struggling to find anything moving around the map. Nice anti-armor missile, but probably not enough to win out this fight. It does allow him to trade well on the Marines, but obviously it still is just Marines for Marines.
I mean, that really wasn't supposed to look like that without the anti-armor soul. Like, no. But that is a pretty spicy spell. Now, no longer available for either player. INnoVation going faster to the air is something that Kira has noticed. He's actually building Thors instead of trying to catch up. They are not yet, especially Kira, they are not yet there to build a bunch of extra starports, easily replace this. And Thors are probably the best option for now. But we're also still talking about a slight upgrade lead. It could happen, maybe not with 2-2, but maybe with 3-3 as things are finally really getting heated. INnoVation moves into the third base. The Viking control letting the Liberators actually take control of the ground, but Thor range not to be underestimated.
The fact that there's Thors when Kira's playing Marine tank is just crazy. He does lose one though. He got caught up on the siege tanks. This is where you need Liberator range really to make that work. The two Thors are a really cool response because they are not normal in this scenario. It's a really cool way to just say, okay, you've got air control, I respect that. If I get a couple of Thors out though, you're not going to break through with that air control, and it's still good for you to have, don't get me wrong, but now you can't kill off my entire tank line and push me back and bully me into certain positions.
Problem right now is that Kira has not done anything to change up the lead that INnoVation has had for literally like 12 minutes right now. Nothing has happened where I've been like, oh, INnoVation lost his lead. He has kept it, and now he's pushing it into not just army supply, as he continues to be maxed out, or Kira a little bit on the struggle bus there, but also like the air superiority. That is the next phase of TVT, and if TVT isn't weird and wacky and really like multitasking everywhere, the Viking Liberator options or the Raven options, which INnoVation is going for, they are supposed to be the Kingmaker. They are your best late game scenario unless you're trying to get to battlecruisers, I suppose. And now it's up to Kira to either try and combat that, to match it, which is so difficult to do, or to actually get through the map, like get to the left and right attacks, drops, catching INnoVation out of position. And if he can't do that, he is going to slowly die here.
Yeah, I think one of the big issues as well is just the map control, right? Kira's never had any control of this map. When he tried to take it, INnoVation caught him, punished him for it. And now Kira's going to try and make a stim in, but his Marines are actually just out of position, so he's just stimmed his entire army for, well, not even a fight being taken. His Marines are still out of position as INnoVation is pressing forward, and there's 3 tanks left defensively from Kira. And with the Ravens on the way out, that's getting to the point now where INnoVation just drops 2 matrixes, sieges further forwards, kills those tanks, and then that 4th base is dead, and from there, well, we really are talking about the last few moments of the game.
I would say I don't usually see such a clean start to finish.
Yeah.
Going from the lead to more lead to more lead to more lead, and then into the Ravens not being at least once counterattacked or won by. Like, this has been the perfect execution of a TVT from INnoVation, and Kira needs to really mix things up. He's finally going to actually get around the army. INnoVation on a very slow army, so this is the whole point of what I was talking about. He can't really respond with those tanks, with those Liberators. Vikings obviously only so helpful against this. Kira is trying to make something happen while also slowly building his maybe Viking or tank count back up, at least his economy. He floats over his main command center. So never a good sign that INnoVation's not really doing much harassing himself. So maybe he'll get away with that.
Yeah, INnoVation is just on top of the 4th base though, right? So he kind of needs that base over there so badly that that's just not how it's meant to be. You're not meant to struggle for that base on the top side so much. And you were right when you said it's not common to see such a clean kind of playthrough of a TVT, because usually Q would drop here, drop there to make this change, but well, let's see what he can do on the full surround. Auto turrets dropping from INnoVation, and he will kill a lot of the Marines. He's going to actually clean up on the bottom right with his reinforced Marines, and Q's just going to be out of the game. GG, and INnoVation is going to clean up. A little scary, obviously, when attacks coming in from 2 different sides, but INnoVation holds it just fine. But yeah, I just want to go back to really reiterate your point, right? At no point did INnoVation look like he was in danger of losing his lead. Q at no point was able to... At no point was Q really able to reset and to really kind of pull INnoVation back. You know, at no point was he able to get a drop-off to even to kill just a few SCVs. There was just nothing that became successful there for INnoVation. Sorry for Q, and allowed INnoVation just to end up taking the first game.
Yeah. Beautifully executed from start to finish. That is a game that you take the replay from if these are released, I guess, and you watch that one.
Yeah.
Like, this is how the pacing works. This is how the build works. This is how you defend a good macro. Like, it was just everything you'd ever want to know about learning TVT. Cure, had he actually started to do some run bys and drop bys, whatever you want to call them, and doom drops and stuff like that, that would also have taught you, like, how do you defeat that style. But you can't do that. If INnoVation's really on top of his own defense, right, center towers, pistol turrets, rallying, right, as well as already on top of your command center, well, you actually might just... Cure was a little bit screwed there. So he tried his best, and had he had a maxed out army, maybe brought his tanks on siege as well, maybe that full surround would have been the real difference maker, and we were suddenly hyping up a big comeback game. He was already too far gone. So it was still a cool game number 1, but now we're on Eternal Empire, which actually could very, very much so give us another huge macro game.
Yeah, no, absolutely could. Eternal Empire, especially in TVT, take the 4th base, you get a 5th base. How do you tack into tank lines defensively set up on this map? Well, then you really do need a big lead in the skies. You need a lot more map control than you really get. You just need more of an advantage than you usually get when playing against someone as good as your opponent here is. In the bottom left, our blue Terran up 1-0 is INnoVation.
In the top right, as the red Terran, he is Cure. Dragon Phoenix Gaming.
It's such a badass team name, right?
Dragon Phoenix.
Yeah, it's like, they're just like, you know what, we could be like Dragon Gaming, or like, that's cool and all, but what if we like take 2 really cool mythical beasts and we put them together? The Dragon Phoenix. I like it.
We're making fun of that a lot, actually, in Katowice. It is actually a cool name, so when I say making fun of, but you could add on more, right? Like Dragon Phoenix, Cyclops, Hydra,
Minotaur
game, right? Like, yeah. You go to Minotaur. Is that actually how you pronounce it, or is that a British thing?
I think it's a British thing.
Oh, okay.
You used to like Minotaur, right?
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure I've played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Wardy. Excuse you, and they definitely call it a Minotaur. No, I'm just.
And we say everything wrong in England, so.
Yeah, you guys really do. America really did it right by leaving you guys and making our own language, which is far superior.
I feel like we should stop this conversation now, because I feel like the last time we had this conversation, we ended up in giggles for the rest of the cast.
No, see, that's when we were talking about Pokemon. Warning.
But no, but I also remember the word slippery had a real substantial few moments.
Really? I mean, I would have brought up that, Pennsylvania calls it Slippy. But,
Yeah. And I
right.
would be like, yeah, you remember.
I see where this is going, yes. I still remember our Pokemon combo, though, and that was lovely.
Yes. We had, and our sponsor shoutouts, I don't think would be TSL approved.
Ooh, maybe not. Both players, once again, well, actually, hold on. Nope, they swapped. I'm sorry. INnoVation goes for the factory expand, and Cure is going cool for the 1 racks expand. They got me, man. I thought they were doing the exact same thing.
They fooled you.
They swapped.
Yeah. A little bit different, but obviously these are the kind of builds which kind of lead into the same positions and the same setup or the same position for either player anyway, so we're not really talking about a massive change up overall. What is interesting is a couple of reactor Hellions here from Cure, so that's him going about this very differently to how INnoVation went about it. INnoVation really went into Reaper and Marines right away. He bunkered up even, and that's going to be something Cure just won't need to do when you're on reactor Hellions.
That is a very nice thing about Reactor Hellions. Probably one of the ways to feel the safest in the early game. The thing it struggles against, though, are any actual dedicated 1-1-1 builds, which no one really does, on one base.
Yeah.
So if that's kind of assumed not to happen, then Pretty nice opener. Reaper gets an SCV. Oh, some sick micro right there. And now we have the Hellions actually moving out alongside a Liberator being made. So strong potential for a couple SCVs to go down just somewhere. But there is also a possibility that INnoVation would perfectly defend against this if he was defending. He's actually getting a medevac, though.
Yeah, medevac is going to be his choice. He kind of wants to set up and go out on the map. I mean, it does give you this push is going to come across, right? And there's not going to be much at home, really, for Cure to help defend, right? So Hellions just don't do that well in a straight-up fight against the tank. Against the Marines, they do a bit better. It's a very weird mix. He's still building Hellions, which actually means he might just kind of brute force his way through this.
Yeah. There's a chance this will actually end in like a weird base kind of tradey thing if Cure actually send these units across the map. But staying at home, even bringing the Liberator back home as he realizes INnoVation is actually going to push into him. The tank drop in the main is usually not as big of a deal as it seems, but against Hellions, maybe it could have been. The Hellion surround does well enough. And the Liberator, actually, I thought that was going to go to the main to deal with the drop. It helped with the Reaper, and this is going to be pushed back.
Nice for INnoVation to keep some activity kind of on the natural though, right? Because of that, otherwise that Liberator just comes into the main and immediately this gets pushed back way faster. So INnoVation ends up about 6 SCVs behind, so it doesn't really kill a lot of SCVs. A couple behind off the build order opening, and yeah, Q able to just maintain that, not allowing any of this INnoVation pressure to really get through.
So far, a bit of a lead for Cure, as he did not take enough damage to make up for the fact that he got a much faster command center. Pretty even on the third CCs, though, and they both are going into those Ravens. The Cyclone patrolling that Liberator is far less likely to do any damage ever. So that's going to have to be on the Hellions if they drive out of position, but we're kind of past that stage where Hellions can do anything, unless they get a medevac included, which, again, INnoVation using his medevac to keep the pressure up. I mean, 8 Marines with no stim sometimes is awfully lame, but it is something. It might even have seen this Liberator. Nicely done, guys.
This is a nice little catch. As we do see the tank going to move down from INnoVation to the natural. And really just waiting for the Liberator to strike, really just waiting for, well, any player to really make any movement, because at the moment, we're kind of just set up to have nothing happen and third bases be taken and go from there. INnoVation still just those couple of SCVs behind that he has been all game.
Have the Liberator tried its best to kill a medevac.
Yeah. It's like, I got this, and Q's like, you really don't, but, you know, have your fun.
It takes about 20 shots or something like that, so
it is ridiculous.
But they both scouted each other's harassment, so it all ends up even. And as you said, INnoVation just slightly, ever so slightly behind. Very similar game to last game, just swap the positions. Even with the opening units being a bit different, the actual positions are similar. Down a couple workers, down in those upgrades by about 30 seconds. What happened last game for Cure as well. We might even see Cure be the one going faster into the Viking game. They both are getting some Vikings, but I'm talking that's a 9-minute, 10-minute option that we saw INnoVation go for. But INnoVation is sharking around. That's one thing that Cure never really did for very long, was hold a position. It's kind of around that third base. I said the Hellions are mostly done for, but they're getting a couple of SCV kills. 7, 8 going down.
Yeah,
and they get out.
Pretty big deal.
Okay. Respect, Hellions, respect.
Nicely done by Cure. INnoVation was just a few workers down, right? So that really opens up that difference. In this game, it really is Cure in the driving seat early. It's Cure on that air control already. And on a map where it's going to be very difficult to make anything happen from INnoVation with A, less army, and just be on this map in general, but then also into air control and defensive positions of your opponent. Going to be tough as the Hellions are back. 5 more kills. Okay, INnoVation's in a lot of trouble now. I think he might just really try and commit with this army here, and if it doesn't work, that might just be it for game 2.
Yeah, it's actually possible, because this Liberator is about to add to that damage. INnoVation was thinking about doing that attack you were just talking about, but it was like, you know what, it is a straight up disaster. So he pulls back, but still, the entire time wasn't paying attention to his SCVs, so a few more go down. Liberator also needs to be careful, the Cyclone needs to be careful. Liberator is going to go down. The thing is about TVT is that while an 18 worker difference is not really a comeback opportunity in PvP. Not really like in the CVZ either. I mean, it absolutely is in TVT. I'll just put it that way. A good drop, a good positioning, maybe getting a 4th base faster on location, taking that chance could bring him back. But not only on top of the SCV losses, he also was later to his armory, so his 2-2 is now even later than it was going to be. Combat Shield's going to be a part of this potential battle, meaning that he will not be able to take it. If you don't have Combat Shields and your opponent does, do not take that fight.
No, do not.
Yeah, there's not actually many opportunities for INnoVation to make this work, but he's going to try and get something done. At least hold a position. Scare Cure.
Yeah, this is it's a little bit rough, put it that way, as these tanks sieged up and just going to be kind of doing a little bit here and there, but you can't even push through that easily because, again, Cure has the air control, right? So you can't even get in with your Ravens to really get some casts off to give you that positional advantage. And Cure means that he just holds on that position, and INnoVation has to back away.
Very aware that INnoVation could try a big old Doom drop into the main base. Well, if he had more medevacs anyways. He's making sure to patrol his Vikings up there, as well as guarding the natural. It's going to be Cure who sends the units off first to do some drops. He feels very confident in his defense around the 3rd base, is prepared to move around in case INnoVation does as well, because INnoVation has parked himself just off the sensor tower, which Cure has too, so very hard to break this guy. 4th base, I mean, Cure wants it, so he's eventually have to push into this. But I'm worried about that double drop. INnoVation still not setting down his own 4th, never took that chance. Is just trying to catch up on upgrades, trying to get a 2nd factory as well. But that means that there's no 4th, even would-be planetary to hold this. That 3rd could be a wide open target.
The 4th base of INnoVation just now placed in position. So Cure is perfectly timed to stim in and just kill that off. So that's massive. Just straight up kill as well, no cancel.
And lucky. I think there might be a tank at that 3rd. Well, okay, there is, but it's not quite sieged. He sees too many reinforcements, though, and is just going to go ahead and go into the main. Yeah, no Cyclone there, no Vikings to stop it. A quick response from INnoVation with his own medevacs, though. This is actually the best response possible. That was quite scary. INnoVation will hold on, and with a maxed out army to a maxed out army, he still has a chance. Going to take a more reserved approach to that 4th command center, though. And he got his double drop in. I don't know. The natural was triggered by a Cyclone, and this is turret, I thought. He actually got into the main base.
Yeah, it gets a little bit of damage done, only for SCVs, but it's that little bit of a slowdown you were talking about. And you know what? It's this distraction too, which maybe takes Cure away from 3-3 starting for a few moments and maybe gives INnoVation a slight catch-up there. Okay, the biggest issue is going to be INnoVation just no 4th base, because now Cure already has his 4th base, and INnoVation's 4th is obviously still just in production and only really freshly started. He catches these medevacs and Marines, and you'll be able to push those away, only 1 medevac surviving. But still, even just 1 medevac staying down here is still something that can come back to bite you. So, you know, it feels like he still needs something more with this current army, because otherwise that 4th base and the reinforcements from Cure should just be too much. Let's see if INno can find something right now as he gets into this fight. The Vikings get the Raven, but just after it already got its cast off. And with the anti-armor down, Cure's just going to chase this. These tanks can't siege because they'll be killed before they get sieged, and it means that every tank is going to fall. He'll save a couple via the medevac, but now there's just Marines chasing Marines that are just anti-armored and all sorts. And Cure eventually running into siege tank fight is going to take some big shots that made a lot of progress before that.
Yeah. INnoVation just being caught by surprise. He didn't realize that Cure was moving forward where he was. It wasn't so much losing his own Raven or not getting his own interference matrix as it was just having tanks on the front, then trying to run away. They don't do a great job of that. And with the 4CC going down, that is finally going to be Cure's victory. No chance for a comeback from INnoVation in a similar position as last game either. So really trying to prove our point about comebacks in TVT wrong. Thanks, guys. But at least proving my point right about not being a 3-0. I'm nailing that one.
You've nailed that one, yeah. For me, this is a siege, which I think on a bad day you get 4 games, but most days you get like 5 games. For me, these guys are pretty evenly matched, and so far we kind of see that, right? Because they're not... Yes, I kind of expected to be a bit more back and forth, even when one player got a lead. But when one player is getting a lead, they're just good enough to keep that lead, despite how good the other guy is. And now we've seen that from both sides, right? It's not just that INnoVation was so much better than Cure that Cure could never do anything in this. This is, really, INnoVation gets a lead, it's hard for Cure to get back in the game. Cure gets a lead, it's hard for INnoVation to get back in the game. And now we're 1-1 tied up. We'll see who takes the lead in game number 3. I really want one of those TVTs, though, where it is back and forth, where we do have a lot of fights, and where it isn't so clear-cut from the early minutes, and there's no fight to turn that around, basically. That'd be really nice to see.
That would be nice to see. I mean, they tried to give us a really back and forth, a lot of potential for throw to throw to throw to throw, basically, with the openings that they chose.
Yes.
But it all ended up just being kind of like a wash, and then the Hellions later on just had way too much damage, so not what we were hoping quite there. We're moving on to Zen, so we are going to a more condensed map, which might lead to more like snappy decisions. Which also might be improper decisions. Because so far, I mean, pretty much they're making the right decisions, right? Just like starting off with either less or more, depending on their opener. But I don't think I've ever watched any of those games and been like, well, of course INnoVation lost because he went something stupid. Like, I'm never going to say that about these guys. It is game number 3. And in the top right, taking that last game, he is the Red Terran, Pure.
And in the bottom left-hand side, our blue Terran player from Kaizi Gaming is INnoVation.
Have you seen that new map in GSL? I forget what it's called.
The one that's being played twice.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it Obsidian, I think it's called?
That actually might be what it's called. You might be right about that.
You know what my favorite thing about this map is?
Obsidian or Zen?
Obsidian.
Okay, gotcha. What?
My favorite thing about this is that because it's a 4-player map, now every time someone's like, why aren't there 4-player maps? We can be like, look, GSL made a 4-player map and nobody wants to play it. Take the hint.
I mean, isn't like always the case? GSL tries something and then it's like that meme of the thing that like gets out of the box, right? It's in a box and it's like, I'm going to go outside of my box and try new things. Then it gets punched. It's like, never again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited for the Game 7 semis and finals, which are just going to go on Obsidian. Everyone's like, wait a second, where do I build my CC on this one?
You know what, though, Morty? Nothing will ever be as bad as Game 7 BlizzCon on Secret Springs.
Well, yeah.
That was a meme. That was a meme.
I can't believe that map was a map.
Yeah, there's also that, but I mean, let's be real and say that wasn't the best meta for that map was not the the stain on an otherwise very good part of StarCraft, I guess. But those finals were actually pretty good. I'll say that much. But anyways, anywho, luckily we're at a pretty good map pool, right? Some complaints here and there, but Golden Wall ended up being, for all its weirdness, actually a very fun map. And Purity and Industry, for all its weirdness, also has its moments, let's say. And Zen, that was our first, like, oh, I can't believe this is ever in the map pool. It's really fleshed out. Protoss sometimes even saying they prefer it. And it's like, oh, all right, sure. Do you, man. But TVT, no matter what matchup, like, this is going to just create more volatile games. There's more chances for immediate, snappy comebacks, which I think the last two maps really didn't leave a lot of opportunity for. A lot of that, like, you made a mistake, let me immediately capitalize on it.
Yeah, it's the sort of map where if you take the lead, you can get a siege position to just punish the game, to just end the game, right? You can siege up like to the left or the right of the main base, elevator up after clearing out turrets or so, and that can be very difficult to break. You can counterattack much more quickly because of the shorter rush distance, so yeah, there's a lot of ways to just sort of say, hey, I got an advantage here. Let's actually do something with that, and then boom, you can win a game off of it. So definitely one to be careful on. Definitely not the one to fall behind early on for sure.
Well, they both did literally the same thing. Command center timings, the amount of Reapers, the amount of Hellions here. Of course, here with the Fender's advantage, I mean, that would eventually have kicked in, and he would have a maybe slightly faster Cyclone, but they are also both getting Cyclones. The only difference might be the what comes out of the starport here. Oh, and maybe the concave potential. INnoVation getting the better first shot, but then Pure getting the better second shot, and now it is literally a mirror matchup. Okay, guys, well, let's give a round of applause for the units that will be less and less significant as time goes on, trading out for each other.
But that's amazing. Talk about being mirrored. Okay, Pure lost one more SCV. The SCV count's still even. Okay, INnoVation finished his faster. Yeah, very similar game across the board. And yeah, you really couldn't put more mirrored into this if you tried. As I know, we'll start a third CC now. And of course, the longer this game goes, the more we start seeing some deviations. INnoVation here was a little bit slow on a reactor somewhere along the way, so he didn't build a couple of Marines that Cure already has. But now he's also a little bit fast on the third CC timing. I wonder if Cure will actually maybe push across the map this time around. Definitely seems like a possibility. So, yeah, definitely an option there as we get ourselves waiting to see what's next, basically.
Right, we're just waiting to see if anyone does push. I mean, it's pretty common to try and push for the 2 Ravens, but I would say that was more common a while ago. Yes. Like, there was always, it was even determined based on that push. And then we had the transfer into like a 3 Raven meta, and then the Raven patch hits, and I'm talking months and months ago, guys. So what happens now is almost like that weird respecting that happens in ZVZ, where you won't even bother making 12 links, right? You just like, oh, you'd make the same, and we'd do nothing to each other. So we see a lot of not pushes, but it looks like Cure was sizing up for one. He actually pulls, his SCVs to mine, open up the opportunity for the tanks to rally through the middle of the map, which I don't see too often, actually. So that's really quite a big dip in the income there. But he was temporarily distracted by the Raven. Be excellent to take that out, but let's just keep in mind that even without killing the Raven, INnoVation's not using that on his side of the map, and he is being pushed. This might still be a go ahead and green lights, go for it for Cure. Oh my god, INnoVation's second Raven won't even be at home. I take Cure, take the SCV losses, take the income loss of pulling your SCVs away if you could win this game on that natural.
Yeah, I mean, you can lose a few SCVs if you're just going to take a position that's never going to be lost and is going to, win you the game, eventually kill a lot of SCVs if you're on. Here we go, the 2 Ravens. INnoVation nicely is already unsieging that tank, so you can pull it away from auto turrets, would have been able to pull it away from Matrix. It gets locked onto by the Cyclone, though. INnoVation's Cyclone has a lock on and kills the higher energy Raven. SCVs are pulled in to fight this. The big thing for INnoVation should be that he gets a lot of these units cleaned up, but he just doesn't quite have the damage still going out as the SCVs were left on their own at the end, and now maybe too many SCVs really starting to go down.
16, but he does have a third on location where I think the Raven just would have scouted that it wasn't. The Raven did get a lot of lost mining. Like, 16 SCVs sounds like a terrible thing, but when you account for how much the mules are actually going to be well saturated, like, not bullying other SCVs away, it's only end up being a 7 worker difference, not the full 14. Like, that's actually not so bad. I think some key things right there is that INnoVation did have his tanks unsieged, which you pointed out. Hi, guys. And that he had a third Raven, which I did not expect, as I literally pointed out that was a meta at one point. It usually isn't anymore, and that did significantly help with all the auto turrets he's able to put down. So anyways, the SCV count, not as bad as it could be. Cure only just landing his third CC, 3 SCVs down, 5, and then going for his own counter. Okay, we're back in the game. There we go.
I'm glad you said that. I had no idea the camera was on me. I'm so enthralled by the TVT. I'm just like, hey, why are you saying hey, guys? I was like, I still didn't click for a moment or two. As INnoVation gets a siege up to go into the main. Meanwhile, Q is going to counterattack with Vikings. They can land and do a lot of SCV damage, but there are a few Marines here and a sieging tank, and that's very important. So I don't think those Vikings do enough. As INnoVation across the map is going to be in that main, has Raven still with some energy on them, and has the Vikings to help out as well. So not feeling super pretty at the moment for Cure.
They're really bad, actually.
Yeah, it's actually terrible. But the tank shots on the bottom side are big. And that's going to clean out INnoVation's arm, but not before the tanks then go down to the auto turrets and the Vikings that landed. Okay, ZG, we've just got madness everywhere. But overall, Q still has basically no army left because he lost those Vikings across the map. Wow.
That still did not end up very well for Cure. That was him. I mean, if he had those Vikings back at home, he doesn't even really have to engage so much as he just pushes the Ravens back after a couple of, auto turret dodges, and probably doesn't lose his barracks, which is a third barracks production that is now lost. He was going to be adding a tech lab to that as well for his upgrades, which he never got to do. And yeah, he ended up losing instead of just being able to say, okay, whatever, dude, like, we just stay there. Nope, he lost everything and is desperately trying to replace it. He knows his army supply is in the gutter. His SCVs aren't looking any better, especially as they're pulled here. And that is going to be game.
INnoVation. Talk about a turnaround after that fight on the natural expansion, right? Because that fight on the natural kind of felt like he lost too much. But obviously the full cleanup was massive there. And that's going to be a big part of this. Is INnoVation now goes up 2-1, and he's one map away from getting into the next game very, very soon. Oof. Cure just, I don't know what. Just one of those fights where that was kind of like the back and forth, maybe not on as epic a scale as we were initially expecting or talking about, but it was that kind of like Cure strikes here, INnoVation strikes back, and that kind of excitement that you can oftentimes get in the TVT. So a little bit more of what we were kind of hoping for in the series, I suppose.
Yeah, it was a lot more what I was hoping for. The cool battles where you have to pull the SCVs, but you're still not really that far behind, which is exactly what happened for INnoVation. Talking about army supplies versus economies and vice versa. At the end, INnoVation had everything going for him. But one thing I didn't really get to mention, because I had a little bit of a technical hiccup right there, is that I really thought Cure's push into that natural was maybe not game deciding for sure, but I thought it was going to be able to last a lot longer than it did. The fact that INnoVation not only pushed that back, but still came out of that with like a 7 worker deficit instead of like a 20 or worse, something like that. Like that was a really like just nice hold. I think I'm really focusing in on that because I guarantee I would die, and that many other Terrans would have just died. They would have panicked. They wouldn't have the Ravens controlled well. They wouldn't have a third Raven, of course, and they would have died. Instead, he held and then countered and then did even more damage. And now we have a situation where we go into game number 4, and INnoVation is up 2-1. So let's head into Simulacrum. Stupid word, and I hate it. In the bottom right, as the blue Terran, he is INnoVation.
And needs to win this map to stay in it. Our red Terran player is Cure.
Gets a pretty good push. You know, the stars were kind of looking like they were aligning with all the Ravens doing harassment and not being back at home or saving energy, and it just still ended up turning on him. I mean, Cure used to be a TVT sniper. I think he still is very good at TVT, kind of like, you know, the old saying is like ZVZ, you gotta be, or Europe, you gotta be good at ZVZ, and then Korea, gotta be good at TVT, right? Well, Cure used to be one of the best. INnoVation feels like he's, I don't know. We have, you know, between Cure, INnoVation, Maru, and TY, I don't think of any of them as having weak TVT. You know what I mean?
It's funny, right? Because I feel like we talk all the time about like TY is so good at TVT. We know Cure's great at TVT. You know, we know Maru's just good at everything. And then INnoVation, like, I feel like when you talk about INnoVation, you talk about his TVC, and you talk about his TVP. And his TVT is that one that just goes a little bit more under the radar. But obviously, he's like very good at it, else he wouldn't be putting up such a good fight against all the other Terrans in Korea all the time. It's just, for me, his TVT almost flies under the radar, you know? It's not like the one that everyone talks about like they do for the other Terran players.
I mean, personally, INnoVation's my favorite player, so I'm not going to, you know, I'm going to keep my bias out of it, but I do also love the way that he plays TVT, because it'd be the way I would play it. So I always think about his TVT, but yeah, since we had that Maru TY, you know, series, that really, I think, elevated our perception of their TVT. And then for Cure being online all the time and facing a lot of the other Korean Terrans, I always think of his TVT as well. But it's been a bit of time since he was like the dominant leader of the TVT. He was at one point the dominant player on Liquipedia, but I guess not anymore, right? Who is number 1 on Liquipedia right now?
Cyril?
I'm gonna go look that up.
I feel like it's just Cyril still.
I mean, it's such a... Okay, I shouldn't have said number 1. You are correct. Number 2. Who's number 2 right now?
Cure.
It's actually so funny. It's Cyril, Maru, INnoVation, Cure.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe, I guess Maru and INnoVation's recent GSL runs helped out a lot, because Cure was number 2. I'm pretty sure. He's definitely been in the top 4, at least for a while anyway, so... That's
kind of crazy. Between all these, like, amazing Terrans, TY is down at number 8, but the ratings are differences of... Cure to INnoVation is a difference of 3. INnoVation to Maru is a difference of 2. Like...
So that's actually just, like, recent GSL matches almost, though.
Yeah.
As well.
And then, of course, Cyril's up 200, so...
Yeah. That happens.
Yeah, anyways. What do we have going on here in TVT lands? Very similar command centers, but not similar enough. INnoVation has a bit of a worker lead, has a Cyclone to just a couple of units that a Cyclone will easily deal with, if it's at all supported, I should say. You know, a couple of Marines here and there, but if it's alone, the Reaper Juggle can threaten it. Don't let it be threatened. Okay, he's got it.
Yeah, nicely done. Pulls back right away. The problem is getting in range of the Cyclone, right? It's when you're like AFK for the first second, then it becomes a bit of a problem, I think. So,
yeah. Definitely the case. And a second Cyclone was on the way as well, which, hey, is not too standard. It's usually one Cyclone, if that. Like, if you think you can skip the Cyclone, go into a tank can also be a good thing, but definitely Cyclone into tank. But the Banshee is also unexpected. Like, that dies very quickly to most, if not all, common TVT openers. As Concave, not going to work out as I think as well as Kira's hoping.
Yeah, he's really trying to go for this. The Marine's obviously a little bit susceptible to the Reapers and the Hellions. I was just going to bring up the Banshee because the Banshee oftentimes really feels like it's more of this like one cloakless Banshee. Sometimes feels like it's more of I want some extra defense. I'm not quite sure I can hold on. But here makes it here and just goes straight across the map with it. So obviously doesn't really sell that idea of what I'm saying. So yeah, let's see if he can do some damage. As he has brought the Cyclones all the way over to this left-hand side, although that may come at the cost of his own unit. He's going to get a Cyclone lock on again, but he gets off of it, and the Banshee arriving in the natural, and there's nothing there.
That was so awkward. There's actually so many things that happened in that engagement where it happened that was so important. The Banshee now open to doing some damage, where with two Cyclones, you would really have imagined that would never be possible. In fact, it even goes after the Cyclone, and that was kind of dangerous there too. But yeah, the high ground of that ramp. Like, INnoVation had the first lock on, and then it got canceled by the high ground vision that Cure took. And then that happened again when it seemed like INnoVation was going to clean it up. And it was just like Cure was not supposed to really take the engagement as well as he did. He wasn't supposed to either trade as well as he did or keep that going as long as he did. That really was the only reason I think the Banshee did anything at all. Again, being a surprise unit here, getting 4 is not, it's still not great, but yeah, what you were saying, it wasn't Cloak, it wasn't a second Banshee, it was at least something. A lot of times it's nothing, but INnoVation faster third, and I think he's already on to a second Raven. Did Kira even bother going for a second Raven?
Yeah, it's already kind of a setup here where it feels like INnoVation's on a third Raven.
Yeah, okay.
You're right, he's up a Raven, you just didn't have the right numbers. But yeah, up a Raven, faster third. I like INnoVation's setup here. I really feel like INnoVation is better set to kind of go into the next stage of the game. But of course, this is still just the difference of one, difference in a fight, right? One better set of matrices or order turrets or someone being caught out of position. So yeah, maybe advantage to INnoVation. And maybe this time we may hopefully see Q actually being able to fight back from something like that this time, which he wasn't, which we really haven't seen before until that game on set. Yeah,
a round of applause right there, man. That Cyclone lived. The tank lived. Nice control as Kira loses 2 pretty valuable units. If they actually get those lock-ons, they are extremely valuable, but admittedly, they do also wear off with time. No repair in that Cyclone means that it's going to get bopped instantly, and Kira has a lot of stronger units behind this anyways. So INnoVation's going to look for a path that's open. Marine scouts his redirection. It's still scary. With that third Raven, INnoVation could still have a lot of power. With the tanks being at 4, you could try and take all of those out of the equation, or just go for mass auto turrets, which it looks like INnoVation's going to go for the interference matrix on 2 out of 4, and auto turrets everywhere else. Kier also slapping on his own auto turrets, however, still has plenty of units left over, actually attacking, rallying forward as well. That was not going to work out, and INnoVation thought he saw an opportunity, but was kind of just straight up wrong. Loses his Ravens and doesn't kill Cures.
Has more Ravens, has more spells to cast, and then didn't really play out. Maybe if just obviously the tanks already siege from Q really did a lot there, and just wonder if maybe I don't know, he just got out auto turreted, right? And it felt like taking down the 2 tanks in the back didn't matter when there was still 2 tanks firing. Maybe he matrixes like the front tanks and sieges to take those tanks down, and then he can auto turret fight or so. And perhaps, but yeah, it just felt like he got auto turreted, plus the matrices didn't really have much of an impact, so tough one for Inno. Definitely missing out a little bit there.
It's really odd to see him. Like, when he went for the back tanks, I thought he was going to try and interference matrix every single tank. Like, why start with the back ones instead of the front ones? But maybe it was a shift click issue. I didn't it was way too fast to notice, or maybe it was just there was just too many units. Maybe it was just really too many units, and Auto turret's not coming down as slowly as he would have liked from Cure. Cure had some pretty fast response time. Either way, both of them moving on to combat shields. 1-1, a bit faster for our Red Terran. He did get the third CC down slower, despite taking the army fights and taking out the Raven numbers. So he has that still. Two Ravens can properly controlled actually do great things in all stages of TVT. And he does now have the bigger SCV count, but pretty even game. I love the supply depot, which is something that INnoVation is actually a little desperate to take out, as he is trying to go for a big old drop into the main base. That is 4 medevacs and a Raven to help out.
I like it. You know, it's especially if Q is out on the map like this has real potential. It does mean INnoVation is going to have to be careful back at home defensively, but, well, already boosting past that depot. Now, of course, QSC is this, but he doesn't really have the medevacs to load up and go chasing this down. He's obviously INnoVation got that one Raven, so he can help himself out against tanks of his opponent here. He's going to drop that first Matrix down already. He's actually going to go straight in for the Raven target fire, gets a full energy one, and that's big. He'll get the other. It did drop its auto turrets down already as these Marines back away. And those tanks are just going to hold position. Reactor's already dying, and really tough position for Kier to fight out of.
This was very awkward from Kier. He might still be able to take care of this, but it's going to be at a much worse rate than I think it should have been. Tanks him in single file through that little choke is also pretty bad. INnoVation takes out a couple of tanks at least before losing all of his own. Actually, that one barely surviving, but yeah, I think Kier, the auto turrets on top of the tanks was the goal there. And INnoVation stopping it by sniping the Raven was nice of him to do, but without his army actually still even close to the main base, I thought he would have held off, used his Viking Ravens on the very, very right side, and auto-turreted behind the tanks once his army was ready to pounce on top of it. Maybe just more of a, like, the haste of it was more important than actually doing it like as perfectly as possible. He does clean it up, and it wasn't actually that bad. And he's going to have units in position this time for another Doom Drop, actually. Oh, there's so many Vikings. INnoVation does not pay attention immediately. Loses the one with the 2 tanks. Very dangerous indeed, and he does finally get punished for it.
I mean, that's always the risk. You load up everything into medevacs and you just fly into Vikings. Well, you just can't do... Unless you're really paying all attention to it, you can turn around, but yeah, he wasn't. Loses the 2 tanks. That's painful. He was just trying to split up his army, go in different directions. He's already on a 4th base, and he's looking to hopefully deny the 4th base of Q as it moves in position. Q has no vision down on this bottom side, so there's potential for it, perhaps. These are all just SCVs moving in. INnoVation, at the very least, going to get a lot of SCVs, but I think realistically, the CC goes down as well. The Marines aren't here. INnoVation didn't step in for it, gets it anyways. And now the Marines will be chasing from Q, but INnoVation gets out of there. 4th base denied for Q. And that's really big, gives INnoVation an entire base lead.
20 army supply as well. Working on that +1 vehicle weapons a bit faster too. I think outputs in general are faster for INnoVation. He could try and capitalize on this, continue moving around from left to right. I mean, that's not going to be a planetary. If it's a planetary, it's so much easier for Kieran to worry about it. Like, obviously, if tanks come, he still has to worry about it, but if it's just Marines, now he has to worry about even just Marines, and he does not have that second sensor tower either quite yet. As I say, it finishes up. He's always done that. I was expecting it. But you need to have very proper tank placement to hold on here. Without any Ravens, the good news is tanks will actually be tanks. They will hold positions. But he needs to get this 4th base up, and it's looking dangerous, but maybe at the cost of a couple of SCVs to the right. Looks like he's pretty perfect. And INnoVation even is not going to try that right side anymore.
All those upgrades finishing at the same time, so everyone's going to have 2-2 in this fight. I know, still really looking for 2 angles. He's going to go for this into 3 siege tanks. Well, he has the better concave set up, and he is going to make the right call. Okay, the rest of the tanks, though, he should not have continued through, I don't think. On the right side, this is going to go okay enough for him as well. He will get those tanks, and now he'll get the orbital. Yeah, it's always confusing. You're like, is it going to be just enough? Is he throwing away too much? But now he's going to get the orbital command. That's obviously a huge pickoff. And Q just can't get up to 4 bases at all. INnoVation with a good clean, but now going to drop into the main base, and Q just isn't ready for it. He's actually sieging up a tank build, be in range of all the tanks of INnoVation, so it lasts for 1 single shot. And that will be it. More tanks going down as they run into the main. Q can't get a tank sieged up. Oh my goodness, this is actually just a disaster. Q loses everything. Oh my god, that was actually just a train of tanks just getting 1 shot to death. Like,
yeah,
you don't see that every day.
I mean, he was already probably losing that game, but that drop into the main base was the real death blow there. INnoVation had him backed off from the right side. He had just gotten out of sensor terror range to build up his army to the right side. I thought that might have been at the cost of the left, but he actually, like, truthfully, I feel like he really won both sides.
Yeah.
So much dedication was spent paying attention to the left side at the very least, that the right was a much easier victory. Good job by INnoVation to 3-1 Kier and move on in the lower bracket. Again, that was a lower bracket match. Like, I have to remind myself about that.
Yeah.
So,
Kier's out.
bye, Kier, man.
Yeah, this is the first eliminated player of the day as we have swapped from winner bracket to the lower bracket. We do have more lower bracket.
We stand as one. Are you